Hey guys, welcome back again with another module from Web Security Academy, and today we are going to see and solve the first lab from the OS command injection module. This is a server-side vulnerability, and before going further, this little disclaimer as always for you. This video and its contents are only for educational and awareness purpose, and I do not support any unethical or illegal act. That's been said, if you did not subscribe to the channel, please subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon so that you can get the notifications on time. That's been said, let's go and we will see what is command injection. So first thing first, command injection is a vulnerability that involves executing arbitrary command on a host operating system. So typically the threat actor injects the command by exploiting a web application vulnerability such as insufficient input validation. And as I mentioned before too, that I think more than 60%, 70% vulnerability exploitation are possible because of the input validation. So if your application is not sanitizing and filtering or not validating the user input or data, then there are much possibilities that your web application get exploited, or if any vulnerability is there, it is going to be exploited. And a lot of time I see that there is a vulnerability while source code examining. It is very clear that that vulnerability exists in the code, but because of proper sanitization, this was not detectable or exploited by anyone. So that's been said, I'm going to solve a lab here. This is the first lab, OS command injection simple case. So I already open up the lab here and see there are certain functions. Because of that improper use of those certain functions, the application get vulnerable of this kind of vulnerability, injection vulnerabilities. Like if I say in PHP, so in PHP there are certain functions like system, okay, eval, exec, and there is one more, shell, exec, pass through, like these. So because of these functions, if you do not properly use these functions, it is going to give the ability to a threat actor to execute command on that particular feature where you use these functions, right? Your purpose is to get a certain output by executing these functions, by executing the command on the operating system, but someone else could get benefit of this by exploiting that function, right? So here you can see the first lab is OS command injection simple case, and this lab contains an OS command injection vulnerability in the product stock checker. The application executes a shell command containing user supply product and store ID. So then it returns the raw output from the command in its response. So to solve the lab, execute the whoami command to determine the name of the current user. Fine. Now let's go back to our application, and I also open up the burp suite here. I'm going to arrange this a bit, and let's turn on the burp proxy on the browser, and let's just refresh this page again, and we get here request. So that's been said. Here in these labs you already know where you need to look for the particular vulnerability to test that vulnerability. As you can see here, this lab already describe you that you need to see in product and store ID parameters, because the application is executing shell command containing user supplied these two parameters, right? So from here we know that we need to look at these parameters. So that makes it very easy. But other time, once you are going to have real-time penetration testing, it is going to be a bit difficult. But okay, so I'm going to explore any of these product, let's say this one, and I'm go here to check the stock, and here you have the post request. So as you can see here, this post request have two parameters, which first one is product ID and the second one is store ID. I'm going to send this request to the repeater, go to the repeater to test that. First of all, I'm going to send this request again to see whether I'm getting the expected result or not. So everything is fine. Now let's try to test it here. So the first thing first, because it's saying that it is executing shell command. Okay, so any of these product could be vulnerable. Let's try from the product ID. So I'm going to put here semicolon, and let's say who am I, and send this. So as you can see here, we already solved the lab and we have here some result. So the result is /home/Peter - this one. So I'm going to take this copy, come here, and I'm going to write it here. So this is the result of who am I command. But actually this is not exactly the command result, although this output tells us that there is a possibility of command injection, but this is not actually the output of the command. Because if I say who am I, it should give us only this, because this is the username, but it's giving us the complete path of the user's home directory. So let's try more to get the exact result. I'm going to say let's try pipe, send this again, and still you can see there is extra operand 1. So if I delete everything from here and say who am I, so it's going to give us nothing. Let's try -1 and semicolon, send again the same result. I also want to test here this, and because once I put the ampersand sign, it is going to say okay, this is the value of this parameter, and after this ampersand sign there is new parameter. So we need to actually URL encode this ampersand sign. So Control U. Now it's taking this who am I as a value of product ID. Send this again, and again the same result. So I'm going to leave this product ID parameter, let's say 1, and here I'm going to test the second parameter. So in the second parameter, if I say semicolon and who am I, so you can see this is the clear output of this who am I command, what I was talking about here. Let's try other, like uname space -a. Actually, instead of space, I should put plus, hit enter, and you can see. So uname -a, there is Linux. Okay, so the target operating system is Linux, and maybe it's using something like Amazon 2 or something like this. So if the command execution is there, you can do anything you want, but it depends on the user privilege. You can find a way to escalate your privilege. You can make lateral movement, find other thing, enumerate the system, and you can do much thing. And actually the successful exploit up to the root level or administrative level goes like this. Fine, let's say hostname. These are little commands, but gives you a lot of things. Like if I say here hostname, hit enter, you can see this is the hostname, and that seems like a domain, a Docker container. It could be not it could not be a Docker container, but normally you see host name like this in the Docker container. So if you run ever Docker container, I think you are familiar with these names. So that's it for this video. If you like the content, please like, subscribe and share, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. Bye.